Well, I tell you what, the whole playoff picture is looking really interesting, Dustin, with that win from Austin Dillon, who's sitting back there and, well, he's all the way up to 26 now. Woohoo! Woohoo! You now have Bubba Wallace is the bubble boy. He is 3 points above the cut line. Chris Buescher and Ross Chastain are 3 points below the cut line. Ty Gibbs is 18 above the cut line. And really, I think with 3 races to go, outside of a win, I think those are the 4 drivers we're looking at, Dustin, that could go one way or the other. I think when you talk about Truex is plus 78, you look at Briscoe's minus 102. I don't see those guys outside of getting a win moving. But those 4 drivers right there, because and think about the engines problems they've been having at Gibbs lately. Ty Gibbs has not been running particularly well lately, so and I think those 4 drivers are the ones in play.
Yeah, and I don't really feel about Truex either, because he's been bleeding points left and right the last few weeks too. He doesn't have a top 5 since May at Kansas. So the one I'm concerned about the most is Ty Gibbs. He had a really good start to the year. He was second in points at one point early on, and then in the last 9 races since the Coke 600, he's got 6 finishes outside the top 20 and just 1 top 10. So, in 2 engine problems, like you alluded to. So he's the one I'm concerned about. He looked really good for a large portion of the year, and like I said, Truex bleeding points, so is Gibbs. And with Bubba, like, he did everything he could to have a good night. He actually passed Chastain and Buescher both to get into the onto the bubble, and then Austin Dillon wins the race. So all that work not for nothing for sure, because he's on the bubble, but definitely makes his life a little more challenging.
Yeah, like I said, Richmond has had some weird stuff that you don't expect. Bubba probably expected, okay, as the races, again, minus that last caution. All right, I'm a little more comfortable now, and then all of a sudden, he is the bubble boy at the moment. And I'm a Seinfeld fan, if anybody out there knows the episode. It's an old episode, but
it's an old show.
It's an old show, yeah. Sorry for this reference. But it's interesting to me. I mean, Denny is running so well, and he hasn't had the issues, of Truex and Gibbs. And I'm wondering.
Well, he did at Sonoma.
Yeah. But again, it's a road course.
Yeah.
But a road
course. He went out. He was down in the second lap. He was, he had the engine problem in the second lap, but he's gone.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's run through the whole. Yeah, go ahead.
All 4 Gibbs drivers have had an engine issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something worrying, and again, Bubba's in another Toyota.
But they haven't seemed to have the problems, though, that the Gibbs guys have been having.
I'd be concerned, though, because you just never know. I mean, it's something that's out of your control, so really you shouldn't concern too much about it, I would imagine, as a driver. But there is a lingering thought here of, since Gateway over the last 9 races, when Christopher Bell was the first one to experience an engine issue while battling for the win. He's had 1, Gibbs has had 2, Truex had 1 this past weekend, and then Denny at Sonoma. So I don't know. They work closely, so there's potential.
And now going to Michigan, the Fords tend to run well at Michigan. So we're looking at that. We haven't mentioned, and we've mentioned it, but just very briefly, could be a good day for Buescher, who's won there.
Well, and that's the thing. You look at that now, and you think about the 3 races we have left in the regular season, Dustin, and you've got Michigan, Daytona, and Darlington. And to some extent, obviously, we always talk about Daytona as kind of a crapshoot. You never know who's going to, you could have another one of these days like with Austin Dillon. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. runs well at Daytona. He could pop up and win. Michael McDowell, who's sitting back there 21st in points, he could pop up and win. Another one of these, you got another one of these guys further back in points could pop up and pick up a win there.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the quick math. For Daytona specifically. Sorry, I think 5 drivers right now below the elimination line have won at Daytona, and like you mentioned, anyone can win it, as long as your car can start on pit road at the beginning of the race. But three totally different tracks coming up. Like Lewis mentioned, this week probably favors the Fords. They've won 9 straight races there. Daytona, crapshoot, and then Darlington. I mean, a lot of the bubble drivers performed well there earlier this year. Buescher had a shot at the win. Ty Gibbs finished second. Ross Chastain's run well there in the past. So this is going to be a fun battle the next 3 weeks.
Then look at the opposite end. And remember how important winning the regular season is, Lewis. 15 bonus points to the guy that wins the regular season, 10 for second, 8 for third. So there's a significant bonus for winning the regular season. And look at the top 4 right now.
Yeah.
Kyle Larson's leading. Reddick's 5 points back. Elliott's 6 points back. Denny Hamlin's 21 points back. All of a sudden, Hamlin's kind of climbed back into this picture now. That's a heck of a 4-way battle for the regular season when you've already got Larson up there with 28 points. Hamlin's got 21. Christopher Bell's back there in 6th with 25. But then you got Reddick's got 8. Elliott's got 6, and think how important that extra 15 points would be for those guys.
Sure. It's a little ironic. I don't want to say funny. I mean, Christopher Bell has these 25 points, but I don't think he will be the overall regular season points winner based on a 78-point deficit. But yeah, I mean, again, while we criticize NASCAR for some rules, the other rules make it more interesting to see what happens. There's many different, I don't want to use the word strategies, but many ways that this will play out, till the end. So I see, I just, it'd be interesting. Sorry, let me throw it back to you.
Well, and Dustin, as you think, I think we're going to focus a lot, and they're obviously deservedly so. There's going to be a lot of focus on the guys trying to get into the playoffs, but you can't ignore what's happening at the top of the point standings and how tight that is.
Spot on, yeah. And you look at you brought up specifically Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott. They've only got 1 win each. Chase has 1 stage win. Reddick has 3. They need to win this regular season championship because those are, crucial points. Chase mentioned in 2022, he had won, I think, 4 regular season races, if I recall off the top of my head. But he won the regular season championship, had a dismal playoffs. And, he stated publicly that regular season championship, those 15 points, even, they're 5 more than second. Like that carried him to Phoenix, to battle for the championship. So I think him and Reddick both need it. Big weekend from Reddick. He's typically struggled at Richmond. It's one of his, worst tracks on the schedule. And he gained 10 points on the lead, and he's hot right now. He's got 6 straight finishes of 6th or better. So it's such a toss-up though, because you have Denny who runs well at all these tracks, Larson who has a lot of misfortune on super speedways, but great at Darlington, really good at Michigan. This is going to be a fun battle.
And think about Truex last year. How out of sorts he was during the playoffs, but he gets into the round of 8 based almost purely on the fact of what he had, the points he'd accumulated in the regular season, Lewis.
Yeah, it's a funny mashup to me because, again, going back all these years, you weren't, if you're a points racer, you weren't very serious. But now, it's like going to a mystery movie. You don't want to know the ending, and the way this is set up, no one is quite sure, even with a big lead, and how important these points are at the end of the day. Phoenix, you just have to beat the other 3 guys. So, I mean, see, I don't play that game. I wait till Phoenix. I just, to me, I don't own a team. I'm not a driver. So, and my math isn't so good these days. So I just wait for Phoenix, the guy who, because, I'm the old points racer. Yes. And Matt Kenseth won that year with
1 win.
1 win.
Yeah. That's the attorney in you.
Yeah.
Just let somebody else present the evidence and you'll dispute it.
Oh, I could argue 3 sides of an argument.